it's a real London day, isn't it?
Yeah.
After you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We were hoping to be walking around London with you, but it's looking very much as if it's going to be the car.
That's a sad thing about London is the weather. I'm going the far side, I believe. No?
Are you right?
It's the far side, no?
No, that's great, yeah.
I love London, it's a great city, but the weather is just not too predictable. And it can be really hot one day and really cold the next day. And that's why I quite enjoy one day moving away, you know, maybe somewhere like Switzerland where I can ski all day, be at an airport in 2 hours, do my show and come back, and just have wonderful weather in the summer and wonderful weather in the winter. I mean, wonderful for skiing, of course.
You've lived in London from a very early age, and around this area, this is Kensington, it's quite a posh area, has to be said. What do you think is so special about it?
Well, I've lived here since I was about 4, and you know, my family home where we used to live as a family is so close to where I live now, and I'm always going to have a dog, and it's just great to have 2 parks. I live between Kensington Gardens and Holland Park, 2 great parks which I've known since I was about 4 years old, and it's just funny because my parents now have divorced, so my father's living in Covent Garden, very young and funky, and I'm still here in Kensington, which is, it's good because there's shops everywhere, it's everything you need, but people can be a little bit old and grumpy sometimes.
Are you sort of nipping into Harrods? Is that your...
I used to,
Are you a splurger, or...?
Not really. I mean, I'm really not a big shopper at all. I can't stand shopping for clothes. I have a man's patience, literally half an hour, and then I'm out.
There is a sinister side to all this, isn't there? You've got a lot of fans, but you also have trouble with stalkers, with your privacy. How much of a problem is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was one guy who'd been stalking me since, well, the day The Violin Player came out, when I was 16, and very recently he'd been hanging around a lot more, coming to the front door, you know, coming up to me on the street.
So you're very aware of it?
Yeah, definitely, and it just got too much. It was really an invasion of privacy, and I thought that, you know, he needed help, I needed help, and he was put away for 6 months and banned from ever coming to London ever again, or anywhere near me, and not coming to my shows, not writing to my fan club, so hopefully he'll respect that.
How upsetting for you is it when something like that happens?
Not really. I didn't really want to wallow. I do want to mellow because I have to, you know, get more mature, but I didn't want to wallow because at the end of the day, you know, there were people who were already worried for me, and if I was just, you know, wimpy about the whole thing, it wouldn't have helped matters at all. And the main thing was that we got the police involved, and I think, you know, the police will be involved if it's seen as stalking, which it definitely was. Any form of harassment, whether you're in, you know, in the public eye or not, they'll take seriously, and luckily they did.
You've achieved a lot at a very, very young age. Do you see yourself as a role model for other Asian people, or is that a horribly pompous question?
I think I would like to see myself as a role model, only because, you know, my whole childhood has been very cosmopolitan, and I hate it when you see people who stick together in groups. I like, you know, the fact, I like cross-pollination, you know, I enjoy the fact that people of all ages, people of all cultures, people of all musical styles can work and live together. So in that sense, if I can help people be less xenophobic, then I'd be happy. And of course for children, you know, children who want to learn an instrument and who feel that, you know, they want to get their parents' attention because, you know, it worked for some artists like me to get my parents' attention, to give me the support I needed. I hope I'm a good role model for them.
You've been brought up in London, spent most of your time here. Obviously you're from a mixed ethnic background. How much have you suffered from racism?
Yeah, I don't see it, to tell you the truth. I mean, you know, it happens, you see it on the TV, you see images, you see articles, but it's never happened to me personally. I do remember my father once, my English father, taking my mother and myself to some show in the West End and passing some sort of demonstration where people were sticking up for victims of racism, and they wanted some money or something, and my father just cracked a very crude, silly joke to say, no, I'm not giving you any money, I'm racist. And here he was walking along with a little, you know, Chinese girl and a Chinese wife, and the guy just didn't get the joke at all. But that was my only experience of racism, and it was just a twisted joke, really.
I mean, that's a very privileged position to be in, isn't it?
Yeah, very lucky. And then, you know, I think people are just frightened, just like critics want to attack artists that, you know, whose musical styles they don't know about. People just feel cornered or they feel defensive. I mean, this is me doing my amateur psychology, but I assume that, you know, people who are self-conscious or people who are, you know, racist or aggressive, sometimes it can be because they're defensive about something. And if they're taught that nobody's a threat, we're all here to live together and work together, then hopefully, you know, it'll put a stop to things like that.
There have been sacrifices, and the longer I spent with her, it became more and more clear just how much her childhood had been affected.
Things got a little bit difficult because from age 8 or so, I started taking music very seriously. So then I started going to school less and less frequently. You know, I went off to China, to Beijing for 6 months to study the violin. From age 8, when I returned, I only went to school half a day. It was just ideal, really. I had a very understanding headmistress. And then from age 12, I was on tour, you know, on the classical side of things. Before I started my crossover, more experimental pop side, I started life as a regular classical artist, and I was on tour. And so I went to school by age 12 around once every 2 weeks. So then things started getting a bit odd. Nothing to do with the fact that I was Oriental and everybody else was probably more, you know, more Western looking. It was just the fact that, you know, they didn't really see much of me, so they weren't quite. You know, my poor best friend would save me a seat at school every lunchtime, and I just wouldn't turn up. In those days, we didn't have mobile phones. You know, we're talking maybe 15 years ago. So
you are frightfully old, obviously.
yeah, very old. I remember when I went into class once with like one of those really old-fashioned mobile phones, big ones, and it got confiscated. So, but anyway, it's not about how bad I was at school. It's about, you know, just things started getting a little bit difficult because I obviously saw less and less of my friends and saw more of adults, being an only child and being on the road.
You've obviously got enormous talent, one of the most talented musicians, certainly of your generation, and perhaps many others. In some ways, though, it does mean you miss out on things. Is that talent a blessing or a curse for you?
I think it's a blessing, and I think at the end of the day, everybody's born with talent for something, and then you have to thank your teachers and you know, your parents for nurturing that, because at the end of the day, you know, I was a lazy kid at times. You know, it wasn't like I was saying, let me practice 6 hours a day. You know, I needed a push every now and then, and so it's great to have a certain amount of talent that you're born with, but after that, you know, you need dedication and practice. And is it a blessing? Yes, I think it is, because from age 12, or rather age 12, I kind of knew what I wanted to be professionally. You know, when you know, my friends at school were meeting, what do you call them?
Boys?
No, boys, that one too. But you know, when people advise you as to what career, I just knew that I was going to be a violinist forever. So that was handy, you know, I guess.
Along with all that talent, I get the feeling, rightly or wrongly, I don't know, that you felt a need or a responsibility to actually use it, a responsibility to other people to use it, to
I was an only
fulfill their
child,
ambitions.
so my parents had given up, you know, time. My mother had been a professional pianist and a professional lawyer, and she gave that up to be a mother first and foremost and to be a wife. But then when I started taking music professionally, she started working on my career professionally. You know, she ended up becoming my co-manager. So there was a lot of time investment from her side of things. And then my father, being a lawyer, you know, he couldn't really care. I mean, he's not somebody to put pressure on me, but I guess he would have preferred if I'd become a lawyer or a doctor, something safe. So he was a bit dubious at first. You know, his only child wants to become a musician. What does that mean? But I had a lot of encouragement from them. So as you say, yes, I did feel a sense of responsibility. And yeah, I was often reminded, I have to say, by my mother about the fact that she'd put so much into my career. So, you know, that added to the sense of responsibility and pressure sometimes.
I'm fascinated. We have the Hong Kong handover. There you're playing in front of all these people. There you are, you say you're British, but you obviously have that Asian background. I mean, when you're playing, are you feeling British?
It was thrilling. I mean, it was in '97, and I was just so excited because I was invited by the Chinese to perform, but I'm British, so it felt very bizarre, but very special to be at, you know, at the making of a moment in history. It was wonderful to be there, and when I go back, it just brings back so many memories. You've
spent most of your adult life and most of your childhood in Britain. Do you nevertheless feel proud of your Asian background?
Telling tell you the truth, I'm proud to be a mongrel of all different bloods, really. I'm half Thai, because my natural father's Thai. I'm half Chinese. I was born in Singapore, but I moved to London when I was 3 because my second father, my family history is just crazy. My second father, who adopted me when I was 3 and married my mother, is English, hence my surname is Nicholson. I'm Vanessa-Mae.
So Vanessa-Mae Nicholson is your full
Well,
name?
my full name is actually Vanessa-Mae, with a hyphen, because it's one name. Vanakorn, which is my Thai father's name. Nicholson, which is my British father's name. So that's my whole name.
Now, I've got to get this right. Vanessa-Mae
Vanakorn Nicholson.
Nicholson. Thank you very much
Thank you.
indeed.
My pleasure. Thank you.